Sanding, the unsung hero of woodworking. Woodworking is an art. It transforms rough lumber into beautiful pieces. Sanding is a key part of this process. It might seem tedious, but it's important. Sanding prepares the wood for finishing. It creates a smooth surface. This helps stains and paints adhere better. Without sanding, you'll get a rough and uneven finish. Sanding also removes imperfections. This includes scratches and blemishes. It reveals the natural beauty of the wood grain. Take your time with sanding. It's worth it. Your finished project will thank you. Know your sandpaper. Grit and types. Sandpaper comes in different grits. Grit refers to the size of the abrasive particles. Lower grit numbers mean coarser sandpaper. Higher grit numbers mean finer sandpaper. Start with a coarse grit for shaping and removing material. Gradually move to finer grits for smoothing. Coarse grit, like 40 to 60, is used for heavy material removal. It's good for shaping and stripping old finishes. Medium grit, in the 80 to 120 range, removes scratches left by coarser grits. This is a good all-purpose range. Fine grit, from 150 to 220, creates a smooth surface for finishing. Use it before applying stain or paint. Very fine grit, 220 and above, is used for final sanding between coats of finish. This creates a polished look. Sandpaper also comes in different materials. Aluminum oxide is durable and good for all-purpose sanding. Garnet is sharper than aluminum oxide and best for hardwoods. Silicon carbide is used for wet sanding and creates a very fine finish. Choose the right sandpaper for the job. It makes a big difference. Hand sanding, a labor of love for smooth results. Hand sanding is best for small projects or detail work. It gives you more control. Here's how to hand sand. First, choose the right sandpaper. Start with a coarser grit and work your way up. Second, use a sanding block. This keeps the sanding surface even and prevents dips and scratches. Third, always sand with the grain. Sanding against the grain causes scratches. Fourth, apply even pressure. Don't press too hard. Let the sandpaper do the work. Lastly, clean the surface between grits. Use a tack cloth or a vacuum to remove dust. Hand sanding takes time and effort, but it produces a smooth and satisfying result. Section 4, Power Sanding, time-saving techniques for smoother finishes. Power sanders speed up the sanding process. They are especially useful for larger projects. Common types include orbital sanders, which are good for general sanding and smoothing. They move in a random pattern. Belt sanders are more aggressive than orbital sanders and are used for heavy material removal. Here are some tips for power sanding. Start with a low speed to prevent gouging the wood. Keep the sander moving. Don't let it sit in one spot, as this can create dips. Overlap your passes to ensure even sanding. Use progressively finer grits, just like with hand sanding, working your way up. Power sanders save time and effort, so use them carefully, and always wear safety glasses and a dust mask. Section 5. Cleaning up. Removing dust for flawless finishes. Dust is the enemy of a good finish. It's important to remove it before applying any stain or finish. Use a shop vacuum with a brush attachment to remove loose dust. A tack cloth is a sticky cloth that picks up fine dust particles. A slightly damp cloth can also be used to remove dust. Let the wood dry completely before finishing. Cleaning the surface ensures a smooth and even finish. It prevents imperfections. Section 6. Pro Tips. Achieving professional grade smoothness. Here are some additional tips for achieving professional grade results. Raise the grain by wetting the wood with a damp sponge and letting it dry before the final sanding. This raises any loose wood fibers. Sand end grain separately, as it is more porous and absorbs more finish. Sand it smoother than the face grain. Use a sanding block for edges to prevent rounding over the edges. Inspect your work with good lighting to check for any remaining scratches or imperfections. Sanding is an essential skill for any woodworker. With practice and patience, you can achieve professional-grade results. So, put on your safety glasses, grab your sandpaper, and get sanding.